We are live.
Yahoo!
Is the audio?
Audio's working.
Audio's working.
Yeah,
Hey, what's happening,
We got
everybody?
bars.
It's Ike from Flipside Music, and welcome to What the Fact Weekly Question and Answer Show, where we answer questions and demo some stuff and talk about different things. As always, I am here with
Dylan.
so
And Jacob.
and Jacob's over there. Yes.
And Jacob.
He's got a mic. He's got himself a microphone, a little stand, and everything.
Yeah.
He's all grows up, and he's all grows up, and he's all grows up. Yay! What's happening, everybody? Yeah. What is this? What's today? April 3rd. Good times.
Yeah.
Yeah, good good times. So usually, for those of you guys that are normally here, which is everybody, you know, I grabbed one earlier.
Oh, you don't? Okay.
We usually kind of shoot the breeze about industry stuff, what happens for about a half hour, then we test out some pedals. This week we're going to be testing out pedals named after places,
Yeah.
because we thought that would be a thing,
Yeah.
right?
Scraping for themes. No, it works.
Yeah.
It's actually pretty fun.
Yeah.
It was kind of fun, like
Transparency.
trying to think of how many ones. Well, because actually this one Jacob pointed out. He can explain in a moment, but that one, the ledges, I had forgotten about, is in terms of it being a reference to a
I think
specific
it's pronounced Leges.
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 It's Ledges State Park in Ohio.
Ohio. Ohio.
Yeah, so usually, well, let's say hello to everybody that's in. We got Dastardly Dave, Carl is here, Eric Luttinger is in the house. What else? Hey, Doug. What's happening, Doug? That's it for now. So, like I said, we usually, what do we got for a topic? Obviously, we all know some things happened yesterday, but we've talked about that topic like at
We
least
won't
in the
resurrect
last,
that dead horse
at
for
least,
now.
yeah, at least in
Okay.
the last couple weeks. So we feel like we've kind of beaten the shit out of that horse, and we're kind of done with that talk. At this point, it's a matter of we'll revisit in another couple months and see.
Yeah, we'll
what
see.
we've-
Yeah.
what has transpired.
We're at wait and see.
Yeah, so we have already, you know,
We're in the find out stage.
yeah, we already
Yeah.
talked last week extensively about the tariff stuff. So at this point, it's we're just going to see how it goes, and we'll get back to you guys, and we'll tell you what we've seen.
Yeah.
So what else we got? Was there something about
So-
Zach Wild and Italian food? that I
Yes.
heard?
Yeah. Jacob brought up. So apparently Zach Wild and who was the other one in the article? It said Zach Wild and I can't remember who else they mentioned it, but they're basically equating music gear and music gear purchasing and a player's assimilation of gear to Italian food. So saying that like it's all basically good gear. It really just kind of matters more like the player and then their tastes. That there's legitimate gear pretty much everywhere now. It's really more of a matter of the player's tastes and the player themselves.
And how they put it together, how they prepare.
Funny
it.
enough, not dissimilar to what you were just saying to James about blaming the tools. Like,
Oh, yeah.
yeah. I mean, it is kind of that same notion that in today. Like, I mean, at least that seemed to be the impression I got from the article was that things are more about an amalgam of the pieces rather than the individual pieces themselves. That there's really good gear. It's all pretty solid, and it's just up to you what you make out of it.
Yeah, I mean it's all like different spices, if you will.
Well, yeah, and I would say
Different
that
flavors, and I think there's flavors and spices.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure. Well, and I would say, like, you know, a lot of the... I don't know why. I guess I feel like this applies more to amps, maybe. I do feel like people can be really hard-lined about certain amps, regardless of whether that criticism is warranted or not. You know what I mean? Because, like, there's a lot of people that, like, shit on an amp just because they don't like it personally, not because the amp is actually bad. You know what I mean? Because, like, Vox is, I'd say the number one. Like, there's so many players, Rory Gallagher, Brian May, you know, like, a lot of guys that, like, to me, like, are just, like, they sound incredible and they pretty much use Voxes. It's not my favorite thing for me to use.
Right,
But I
but it
absolutely
works.
love their sound. Yeah.
So it's kind of like what you're saying is, amps are like the protein, if you will. Stick with me. This might actually make sense as it starts to form in my brain. So amps are like like chicken Parmesan. You could have veal Parmesan or you could have eggplant Parmesan, and each amp is a different protein type thing. And then the rest of the stuff you sprinkle over the top or cook it in or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know if
sure.
that even equates, but for somehow in my brain it seems, you know what I mean?
No,
Like,
no. I mean that's kind of
so if you want to
like
have chicken
that-
parm, you
yeah.
could have the parm bits.
Yeah.
You could have your parm pedal and your sauce pedal.
Well, and that's
But
sort
you-
of what Zach
but the-
says in that
but
article.
the amp is the
Yeah.
chicken.
Yeah, and that's
But if you don't
yeah.
want chicken and you want eggplant, you switch out the amp.
And so your fenders are your chickens, Marshalls are your veal,
Sure.
boxes are your
Yeah, but-
eggplants.
You could insert whichever thing you want wherever. Yeah.
Are your protein substitutes?
Yeah. You could pick out whichever one you want to be the thing.
So does
but
that
I
mean
can kind of see that. I mean, I think it kind of works. I don't know if that makes any sense to anybody else, but I'm going with food.
What were those fake burgers?
Beyond Burgers.
Yeah, so like modelers are like the Beyond Burgers.
Yeah. So modelers are the Beyond Burgers of amplifiers.
Yeah.
But you could still make a Beyond
Oh,
Burger
Colin James in there. Cool.
Parmesan
Yeah.
if you
Yeah.
if whatever that would look like.
No, but I
It
get
would
one
look
that
exactly
sort
the
of
same.
that is exactly kind of what Zach was saying was that like the sauces like it's all good. The sauces can change via the player, whatever
The
it
cheese
is.
could
But like
change,
fundamentally, like there's a lot of good gear out there, and like and I would agree with that. Like especially
Oh, there's
now,
a ton.
especially now.
If you the thing is too, there's so
Not
let's
really,
think
yeah.
about it. Like after 10 years of like a lot of great pedal companies and stuff. So if you know even if you're kind of working on a budget, I mean there's a lot of cool stuff out there that was really cool 5 or 6 years ago. That's still a great pedal that you could probably get for inexpensive as long as Josh Scott's not talking about it. Mm-hmm. Then you could get it at a reasonable
Yeah, as a
price.
reason. Yeah,
You know.
no price hikes. Yeah.
But I mean, there's a lot of good stuff you can build. I mean, the other day I was listening to what's his nuts was in here playing, and he plugged in Dispatch Master, and I'm like, man, I forgot how good that damn pedal is. It's been a while, and he was playing. I go, I forgot how good that pedal is. And then I was like, do we got to use Dispatch Master around? And then I don't know if I still got the one I had from years ago. I don't know if I sold it or not.
I don't remember.
I don't know if I still got
traded
it
that
or
one
not.
back in or not.
I might.
But yeah, no, I mean that is, and actually, yeah, Eric and I were kind of even talking about that the other day of like certain companies that kind of feel like they haven't necessarily fallen off in any way, but they've become so much of a staple that you kind of forget about some of those things. 'Cause,
Yeah.
like I would say, like J Rocket and Earthquaker, because we've been with those companies so long and they consistently deliver solid stuff. It's like it's hard to think of that. It's hard to think of a pedal world without like companies like that at this point. And then when you get into even more into that of like, because I remember like when we first were with Earthquaker, you know, some of our serial numbers would be in like the low hundreds, and like now some of their serial numbers are in the 10,000, 14,000, 20,000 plus. And so it's like when you start to hit those kinds of numbers, it's like they're everywhere. And so it's like it is kind of easy to not, everybody's always looking for like the new flashy thing, obviously. So
Right.
that's why it's kind of easy to overlook some of the staples. But like to me, the Dispatch Master is like a staple. I don't want to say generationally, that sounds overhyped, but like that is one of those ones, like if you just need a simple delay and reverb and you need it in one shot, that's a good one to go with. Like you really can't beat that.
That's why I was kind of like, I think I might need to get that
yeah.
again.
Well, 'cause even
the little rig that I'm using for the bluesy thing, it's like that actually would take up 2 spaces that I have, and I forgot how good that pedal is. And I'm like, I could actually, because I'm doing a little bit of reverb and a little bit of delay.
Yeah.
And like that would actually take, and then I could put in my Phase 90
Well, I mean, I think it's one of
or
those.
my Unicorn.
Yeah. Well, it's one of those ones that it's taking something that was formerly a very complicated device, it pares it down to just the bare minimum, and it does it in a really, really good way. Because, like, Isaiah Mitchell even, I think, put a video out not too long ago for Earthquaker. And it was the same thing where he was just, like, revisiting the Dispatch Master. And just kind of, again, where he's like, I've had this thing for, basically almost 10 years. And he's like, it's still one of his ones that still circulates in the lineup.
I may have to, like I said, I might have to pick another one of those up or
Yeah.
wait till one comes in used or something. But Cullen James said my Kemper's like the replicator on Star Trek,
Oh,
which is, Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good analogy.
It is.
It said it took him a while to figure it out, to think of it, but I'm like, that's a really good
It
a
is.
really good analogy, I think.
Yeah. No, and he is very right, especially with the way that one does it. Any of the IR loaders. Oh yeah, good call, just in case.
Yeah, get all the scratches.
D knife.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would agree with the. I would agree the. No, there we go. Just a little bit.
Oh, shit.
No. It's a freedom stick.
Oh,
so
no,
you can
it's-
put it where you need it.
Yeah, it is a freedom stick, so it's
Here, if you move it back. Oh,
here. How about
okay.
there? Nobody can see that. Here, let's just put it right here. How's this look?
It's not blue enough.
It's not. All right. We're only gonna have one freedom stick then today. Take a break.
Freedom's
Take a
at
break.
half mast today.
He's on break. Hey, freedom stick, take a break, Anthony. You're the kid.
But yeah, I would say in terms of the gear, I mean, we've kind of also hit on that before. Of like the middle ground is so much better than it was for like dudes in the 70s and 80s. Like,
yeah,
you know, the
yeah.
middle ground of amps and pedals and guitars is just so much better than it was.
And even the inexpensive stuff. I mean, like the new X stuff is like, you know, we carry new X too, so it's like, wow, this is a good pedal for the dough.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And we're in such like we're so spoiled, like because I always try to remember that records were made back in the day with things they had.
Yeah, it was just
Right.
what was relevant at the time. They weren't really comparing it to things.
Yeah, it was just like, oh, this thing came out. I'm gonna use this
Yeah.
Yeah.
because
One.
it's what's in my town too. I couldn't just order it on Amazon or
Well, and I think that gets to
whatever.
a bigger point of
Yeah.
back then you just liked what you liked. You didn't really sit around thinking about all these ancillary qualifications that other people might put on shit. You're just like, okay, this is cool. It sounds cool. I want it for the sound, and it works. And that was what you ran with. Whereas I feel like nowadays a lot of people do tend to. Oh yeah.
Yes, we have 50% less freedom stick today. Now. Colin.
But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I feel like a lot of that stuff is something too. Like we are spoiled to the point where like people have so many options that then people start quibbling about the differences
nonsense,
rather than just like getting the thing that they like. And two, you know, there's nothing wrong with just if you like something, you like something. Because like Jacob said, there's a lot of shit that I'm sure if they had options to try another one, maybe they would have chosen something different. But they liked it, they used it, they found the setting they liked, and they made something out of it.
Yeah.
Whereas like now, I do feel like a lot of people, you know, even to be honest, like the internet culture does kind of it. I don't want to say it breeds certain customers, but it does get like certain customers that are kind of over. Because I tend to overanalyze to a point, but I don't do it to the point where I won't. Like I just won't even make a purchase or won't do something. You know what I mean?
I think there are people that will overanalyze and compare
Yeah.
and think that's how they figured out what they don't like, instead of just plugging it in and going, oh, let me try it.
Yeah.
And there again, we're spoiled here because we can go, well, we have that. I can plug that in and I know exactly what it's going to do. Maybe I could plug it in, listen to it, and go, oh, wow, that has a thing, some real special mojo. But if you only looked at like the description and read, oh, it does this milliamp or milliseconds and only this, rate and blah blah blah, you might disqualify it and go, it's not going to do what I want, but it may sound so good that you missed out on a thing.
Yeah, like
just
on
because
paper you might not
expect it.
Yeah.
You know.
Exactly. Like on paper, there might be something you object to or you weren't looking for, but you're not really thinking with your ears at that point. You're thinking purely with your head.
Right.
Yeah.
And I don't know that that's always the best way, because, you know, if you did like a blind test on stuff on certain amps, you might be very surprised with what you go, wow, that's great, and then you kind of, you know, there's the reveal, and you go, oh shit, I didn't realize that was the Harmony H605, which we have in stock. You know,
Yeah.
shameless plug. But And I only bring that up because I'm looking at it right over there, and we plugged it in the other day, and I was like, holy crap!
It's a very
forgot
unassuming
how
little amp.
good
Yeah,
those
yeah.
things sound.
Yeah.
You know, but the only problem is with the white Tolex or not Tolex, the white
You know,
the white grill cloth. You can't play
after
that after Labor Day.
Day. And
Yeah. Dylan's with words with me way too long. I just can't play this thing with the white grill cloth after Labor Day, so I'm kind of screwed.
Yeah. Makes a whole part of the year just unusable.
Yeah, I mean, I can't even gig. What am I supposed to do?
But yeah, I mean, I think it is one of those things because like every once in a while we'll get customers that like, you know, I try to let them know I'm like, you can only get so far with the forums because a lot of the forums, if anything, that to me like forums kind of sow doubt more than they help a lot of times. And I don't mean always,
because
but
a lot of people go to the negative,
Right.
and that's in a lot of things nowadays,
Yeah.
especially online. People go straight to the negative. Oh, I mean, we deal with that on a customer service standpoint. Like, you know, we're humans. We're a small shop. We make mistakes sometimes. We try to do the best we can to mitigate any of that. But if something happens, like some people are very understanding, and then there are people that go straight for you're being deceptive or you're
Right.
crooked, whatever goofy shit, you know, people say. But in general, I see that a lot, even online, that somebody goes right for the negative first
Yeah.
instead of trying to understand the full picture before they go right for the negative. And Colin made a comment here like about gear being in the hands of, you know, basically be in the hands of better players. 'Cause we know guys, we have some players that come in here and it's like, it doesn't matter. They'll pick up a classic vibe and plug it into a mediocre amp and test the pedal and you're like, damn, that sounds good.
yeah.
And, you know, other people, it just won't happen. I mean, it happens to me all the time, personally. I'll plug into something that's good.
Well, yeah, but I mean,
still
it's
sound
even.
like shit.
Because again, like your personal sound comes through with things. Because like, there's a lot of things that I've liked over the years that once I tried them, didn't really end up working for me. But like, I still like the way they. Like, I still
Yeah.
like the way they
Oh,
sound.
yeah.
Like, honestly, the Dude is a case of that. Like, I have never bought a Dude, but I've like, I don't know how many of you guys at different points I've sort of convinced
still-
to use the Dude because like it suits you. Like you and Jake and like you guys is playing. It fits that sound, and so it's like it's not for me, but I love the way it sounds like when other people use it in a way that I would, you know, in a way that that I would expect, and not kind of because I mean, there's also some validity to using things in unexpected ways. Because that's something I think, like kind of Jacob's point earlier of like back in the day, you used to have guys that would just grab something and use it, and sometimes they didn't even necessarily understand what they were using, but they found the sound they wanted, they used it anyway. I mean, John Fogerty I use this one all the time, but like with the Big Muff, it's like most people would never peg Creedence as like a Big Muff band, but it's like he used a Big Muff as a boost for countless recordings. So it's one of those things where like you can use things in unexpected ways, and it can still end up being awesome. Just
Yeah.
depends on the user, how you're using it. And,
The approach.
you know,
It goes
yeah.
back to the Italian food thing.
Yeah.
Preparation
Yeah.
and the mix and all that other kind of stuff.
Yeah.
It's like a clon. I have no use for a clon, but I see how it's a useful tool in other people's toolbox.
Right.
Yeah.
And and the thing is as things change, or you could throw it in and go, you know what, this actually works with this. I need this to kind of push into that to clean up this, and it actually sounds really good that way.
Totally.
You
Well,
know?
yeah, I'm kind of that way. Like treble boosters, but that was a long thing for like. Oddly enough, the thing that was basically the OG boost pedal for a lot of my favorite players was like the thing that I was sort of overlooking for the longest time before I finally kind of got to that. Because like I kept thinking I was hearing more of the amp influenced in there than I was, not really realizing that the amps that a lot of those guys were using had a fair amount of overlap. It was really the boost that was also the commonality. And like that was one of those things until I tried it, I never would have known that. Because like so many people, I think, overlook treble boosters because of the name.
Yeah, they
when
think
it's-
there's
yeah.
going to be this high pitched piercing
Right.
thing because
And-
that's, what
Yeah.
that's what it sounds like.
Right. And
It's
it's
what
one
the
of those
words
things.
say.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's what the words
Well, and that's
say,
one of
so,
those
yeah.
things where I feel like people don't give that style of pedal a fair shake simply off the name. Also, not really realizing that some of their favorite all-time players all used one at some point. I mean, pretty much anybody out of England that you give a shit about from the 60s and 70s used one.
So Cullen also says, well, there's a few things. He's got a couple ones in here. Eric Littinger says people say things on the internet that they would never say to your face.
Very true.
That's 100% true.
120%.
Me and Dylan are, neither one of us are under 6 foot or under 200 pounds.
Yeah.
So it's not likely that sometimes the emails that we get, somebody would say that directly to our faces. And I'm not saying that we're going to punch somebody in the face. But what I'm saying is that they probably wouldn't say it to us, to our faces.
Yes.
Remember that? I still remember that time that that one goofy guy at the old shop where we were just up front near the front door having a conversation about something, and the guy walked in, looked as shady as it could be.
Oh,
he
yeah.
walks in, looked at the two of us, and literally turned around and walked out.
Yeah, because I can't
And
remember.
he just
'cause
looked,
it looked
like he was
yeah.
up to no good. And I'm not trying to profile anybody, but what I'm saying is the dude just kind of had this look like he was up to no good, and he walked in and looked at two of us and just turned around and left.
Yeah, he was like,
and
"No."
we were we're like,
What
I'm not
was that? What
exactly
just
sure what
happened?
happened,
Yeah.
but yeah. Anyway, yes, there's a lot of people that they wouldn't say to your face what they would say online. So, and then Kyle says that he loves the dude pedal. It's his desert island pedal. I love the dude pedal. I got it, and that's actually the other day. Oh, because all the pedals have been kind of gotten moved around at my house because of changing rooms and stuff, and I was like, I got to put this back on this little board and working with the other thing, and I plugged it in and I go, oh yeah. So there again, Dispatch Master takes up 2 pedal spaces. Maybe I got my Sweet Honey and my Dude. Mm-hmm. And
Yeah, no, it's good combos.
I still got to try to figure out, I might have to just get a bigger board is what's going to happen.
That or multiple boards, or a bigger board. Yeah.
Yeah, because I got to get the Phase 95 and the Unicorn in there somewhere.
You could get an expand board from Dario,
Yeah.
so you can add and subtract.
We should get
to
the,
your heart's content.
We can get a gremlin board and it just grows if you feed it after midnight or something like that. Is that how it works?
Be sweet. Yeah. It goes from like a junior to a full size.
But I might have to look at another board because I got to add like 4 more pedals to it, and I'm like, all right, I got to because there's also overdrives that I am considering, but the Dude is one that I'm like, I got to get this back on here because this does a thing.
Let's build you a board first.
I was gonna say,
Yeah, maybe we should
that
do
was something I've mentioned for a bit, so we should go ahead and do that. The other thing I was gonna say though, that this conversation sort of does remind me of too, is something I was thinking about the other day, especially in relation to like J Rocket. Since we brought up the Dude, was that there are pedals that are pretty, like, I feel like with YouTube being the way it is and with the gear scene being the way it is, everybody's constantly trying to digest like the new thing. Like that's still the big push. But there are so many pedals that are really awesome, and it's like just because you kind of are used to them doesn't really take away from the fact that they're awesome pedals.
I mean, that could be a good video too of like revisiting some early innovations.
Yeah, because like
So
there's certain
revisiting
standards
some
that
old
like
pedals.
people like, I don't want to say people disregard them, but like sometimes I do feel like people disregard certain companies or certain pedals because they're like, oh well, they haven't done anything, blah 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 in the last however long. Well, it's like, yeah, that's fine, but there's also other things out there that are kind of time. Like to me, like the Hotcake is one that's like, it's kind of a timeless
That's
pedal.
another really good pedal.
Yeah, it's like it's been around for over 50 years. It's kind of a timeless pedal, and it's one of those ones like there's literally nothing you could really do to that to make it be better than what it is. It's what you want it to be. And so like to me, like those are pedals. The Dude is like another case of that where like it's exactly what you want it to be. And so just because it's not new doesn't mean it's not good. Because I feel like there's a lot of people that kind of are getting to be, almost like the way certain dudes used to be with like electronics, where like you had to have the newest, best thing or else it was shit. And like I feel like that attitude with gear doesn't necessarily, because like you've said before too, there's going to be certain people that are just discovering. They could be a seasoned player, but they could just be discovering that pedal for the very first time.
Right.
Doesn't take away from the fact that it's an awesome pedal, regardless of how long it's been out. But
Big Muff,
yeah,
Green Russian,
Phase 90.
Phase
Yeah,
90.
yeah.
I mean, Phase 90's been around since
Since the
the
70s.
since the beginning. Real ish. But you know what I mean? That thing's been around forever, and you're like, it still does a really cool thing. You know, a Big Muff is the same kind of way. It does a really cool thing. Okay, here's another one. You know, a rat pedal. Mm-hmm. Whether or not you like rat pedals or not, it's still, to me...
Yeah, you've got to like somebody that used one at some point, most likely.
I remember seeing this show back... I mean, I was fairly young. And I was at this barbecue joint. And it was like a blues rock band. And the dude played... He was playing a Les Paul into a Rat into a deluxe reverb. And that was it. And it was awesome. He had a great tone. Yeah. I mean, his band was good, and he was good, too. I can't remember. He was a local guy, somewhere in the New York area. But that's all he played. Because I remember I was, like, shooting the shit with him a bit, and I was like, man, that sounds awesome. And it was a vintage one, you know, LM308 chip and all that stuff. Sounded great.
Yeah.
You know, so, like, there's a lot of really good stuff that's still old that shouldn't be overlooked.
Well, yeah, because like I feel like we live in kind of a funny
industry.
Well, we kind of live in a funny industry where like if it's old enough, it becomes vintage and then it becomes sought after. But if it's like old but not old enough, then it becomes like something you just kind of. It's kind of weird to me. That's what I mean. Of like, there's certain pedals that I think are just kind of timeless. Like you're never really going to be able to improve much on it. Therefore, there's really not there's always a place for it. And I feel like there's a lot of people though that do, like I said, with at least with a few things where, because like there are legitimate jumps forwards in certain, because like I would say, like Maris is it's a noticeable change from what was before, but it's also like there's other simple pedals out there that again like you just can't go wrong with, and I do feel like some people are like, oh well that's what blah 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 used, therefore it's boring, and it's like well no not if you use it in a different way like.
Which is a funny argument because there's people who are like, well, Stevie and John Mayer used it, so I need it.
Right. Yeah, no, it's a kind of a two-way weird, I don't know, dichotomy, I guess.
There again, it goes back to the food thing. Mm-hmm. Like, so all of a sudden we don't like chicken parm because they've been making chicken parm for 100 years?
Right.
I don't know. Where are the new food innovations?
Yeah.
Oh, they're out there. There's fusions and such. There's like...
I didn't realize the chopped cheese was such a new thing.
It's not.
Well, from like the 90s, I guess.
But it's like it's not a new thing from where I'm from. Chopped cheese is a normal New York thing. What's that?
That's what I read about it from New York.
Yeah, but it's not that new, I don't think.
It's not that's what you said in the 90s, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't remember it being like a new thing.
Well, and I mean, I guess it's all relative to how long the thing is that has been around that you've been talking about. Because I mean, a lot of the gear that we're talking about, 50 to 70 years tops for a lot of the gear that we're talking about, if that. I mean, some of the shit, because like
we got some old shit around.
Well, no, because even like the other day, this one. I mean, he was younger, so it was one of those. I mean, people don't make me feel old that often, but like this kid kind of did a little bit with the carbon copy, because it was like he was acting like it was like some ancient thing, like oh yeah, those are I'm like, no, it's a staple, and it's actually pretty recent in the world of pedals. Like, it's still technically a pretty recent.
And it's a great pedal.
Yeah, but it was just one of those ones where he was acting like because it was from the last century, it was a relic. So
yeah.
But yeah, no, I think like I said, there's definitely odd. I would say odd trends with certain gear. But I do feel like there is kind of like at the beginning of the conversation. I think there's legitimate things for everybody. You just kind of have to, it's your own personal choice. And again, like I said, just because you don't like it doesn't mean it's shit.
Right.
Because like
gotta get out and play some stuff.
Yeah. Because I mean, there are some things that like a consensus of guitar players might tell you, yes, this is not great.
Right.
But it doesn't mean necessarily that there's not some rare person out there that might actually be able to use it really well.
But we've seen this too, like on different bands, and you're like, they're using something that we might go, it's like a Behringer thing, or it's an inexpensive pedal, and you're like, okay, well, it's working in their rig. There you go.
Right.
It's not the newest, greatest, whatever, insert bullshit thing pedal here. You can find something that does a good job within your rig because it works.
Right.
So anyway, that's all that shit.
Yeah. Onto the pedals.
Yeah, let's do it.
So these are all pedals named after places, roughly. So we've got sorry, is that one in frame? Yeah. We've got the Dresden Synth Fuzz from Frederick Effects, which actually I don't remember specifically. You might have to look up what the Dresden was kind of going for in terms of a sound. I mean, I know it's kind of square wave synth fuzz, but I don't remember like if it was a reference to a specific circuit. Then we got the Berkeley, which apparently is based on the Sea Moon Fresh Fuzz, which was kind of an interesting. We were kind of going over the history of Bakelite with pedals earlier. Apparently, they used to be made or the casings were entirely made out of Bakelite, which I found pretty interesting. Because it sounds awesome, but also like it makes
It's
sense
just gonna
that they,
shatter.
yeah, that's
just
gonna.
you're gonna put your.
Well, and
foot
that's
right
what they
through the
said.
thing.
Like guitar players stomped on them and then they would shatter, so they
Yeah.
immediately got rid of them.
And there's like no photos of.
Yeah, I was trying to find a photo of
Yeah.
of one that survived and couldn't.
I'm sure Josh has got one.
Probably, I'm sure. Well,
Oh.
I'm sure he does. But.
I had that thought of like the Bad Monkey when that came out. People were like, "That's a terrible pedal."
Yeah.
And 20 years on,
Right.
Josh goes,
Yeah.
"This thing's
Pretty
killer."
cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then it's cool again.
And then it's.
Well, and then people give
and
it
then
a
now
yeah.
it's cool.
Well, it's the same
Yeah.
thing with John Mayer and the TS10. It's like at one point the TS10 was looked at as like the the shitty one to leave off to the side, and it's like he made it a thing, and then now it's a sought after piece of gear. So
Well, it's because, and that kind of goes back to what Cullen was saying. Certain pieces of gear in certain hands are going to
Oh,
sound
yeah,
great,
yeah.
and it's like, if you're Johnny Mediocrity,
Mm-hmm.
it's only going to sound so good. So if
Correct.
I get like a certain thing, it's only going to sound so good. All right, what are we gonna?
So the Dresden is apparently a unique pedal.
okay, unique to Frederick. Okay,
Yeah.
well, that's cool.
2 synthy sounding octave fuzzes run in parallel.
Okay. I wonder if it's like a square wave and a triangle. Like both of
Also,
them run together
Dastardly
or
Dave
something.
mentioned something about this guitar. So
Oh yeah, I guess you can plug the guitar.
CMG guitars out of Statesboro, Georgia. Trying to get it with. There's a lot of light stuff going on. But yeah, we got him to make us a Colorado flag one because it's Colorado, man.
Colorado.
Yeah, Cullen brings up a good point. Bakelite degrades over time too, so
Yeah.
Well,
and I would say certain companies have done a good job of resurrecting the look of the Bakelite knobs without them being as fragile. Because like I do love the when J Rocket first put out the Archer, like they nailed it with those first set of knobs. So. All right. So right now we've just got the Earthquaker devices ledges on. We'll probably kind of bounce back and forth between that one and the Memphis
I like
Sun.
the
since they're-
Memphis Sun. I'm a big fan of that one.
Yeah. And then we also have the Monterey, obviously. That one's a fuzz vibe combo. I can't remember if there was. I think there are a few other things in there, but I've mostly used it as a fuzz vibe. Which one do you want to start with in terms of the fuzzes, since we got 3?
Let's go Dresden because I think if I remember that is a bit wild.
Okay.
See, this is so your territory. That's more for you.
You're like, oh, I like the.
Yeah. See, but that's the thing. Like that, I think it's cool, but it's not for me. It's just not going to be for me.
Yeah, it's kind of a. It is pretty
It's a bit
sputtery.
sputtery, yeah. Got your octave down, got your octave up.
blend, like a clean blend?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, all fuzz. Okay. Wow. It's been a while since I plugged this one.
That was perfect timing.
The sky opened up.
Yeah, so that's got a lot of.
Yeah, it's a good flavor of broken though. Like that's a pretty for the gated. Like it's not so gated that it prevents you from kind of getting some articulation.
The Berkeley is like 3 times as loud as that other pedal, and there's no.
Oh, and I forgot there's no volume control
no
on that
volume.
one.
Well, then
Okay.
let's. All right. Well. Yeah, that's got a lot of. That's got a lot going on there. That's gonna. Watch yourselves. Yeah. There's a lot. Yeah, I'm gonna go to you.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if
Fuzz
Sean
is
meant
mo-
for the Dresden or for the. It's a little, yeah. It's interesting. Like it feels, it sounds meatier than it is, if that makes sense. Because it's like down up here, it doesn't have a lot of feel, but like up here, if you really go into it, it kind of. Yeah, it's an interesting one. It is a bit different because the other mode's real thin, if I remember right. Oh, maybe not.
It's the bite knob. Bite knob.
Yeah, it really pulls that
It
down.
really pulls it out.
Yeah, it's a little more. That one's pretty mild, to be honest.
Yeah. So.
It's like an overdrivey fuzz.
Yeah, I was gonna say. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a little. It's kind of walking that line. All right.
Let's try Memphis Sun.
And a ton of output.
Oh, no wonder.
Oh,
I thought
yeah.
we did. Yeah. Oops. All right. Right now, that's on the is it 500, 600, I can't remember. Echo, but that one, yeah, the middle position's more of like the. Oh yeah, I forgot they had this one on, and then the room here. 'Cause this one has a little bit of overlap with like the 30 millisecond series that they the sun mode. Boom, boom, boom. Oh, was that too quiet? Actually, on the sun mode, does it do? What does it say? Does it get all the way into like? 'Cause that almost sounds modulated a little bit, right?
Yeah.
Take modulation.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It's interesting how like kind of nasally it gets on certain.
Yeah. It's just got that distant feel to it too, you know.
A little bit of Monterey there just to add a little more flavor. It's actually kind of interesting. Got a little bit of the octave in there. It's an interesting sound.
So do it without with the Memphis. Without Memphis.
I see, yeah, the octave in there on the vibe in particular. I kind of see like it does kind of get that Jimmy or the studio sound. Doesn't really do as like, but that kind of gets that. You know, like if you started to pan that, you would start getting kind of that, like the All Along the Watchtower solo kind of thing.
Or shit, I can't remember the name of the song. I'm not gonna try.
But yeah, because like without the octave blended in there, if you pull that down and just pull this part up, good vibe. That's actually there's almost a little bit of sub octave in there. What if you're right in the middle of it? Yeah. There we go. Yeah. Huh. Actually did not realize that did that. That's cool. Always room to learn. Oh, it's got more output. Don't have that side on yet. But.
I know. I'm messing with that.
reverbs that complement fuzz, and then there's other ones that just don't. And that one really does work. But it's on the plate setting, so it makes sense. But yeah. Because it's almost like giving it enough space that you can actually hear a little bit more distinction. Just a little bit. Yeah, you were getting into the thump, so I added some thickness. good.
Mess around with that for a while. I forgot how good that pedal was. But it's been a while since we've messed with that. It's got that little bit of synthy kind of thing.
Yeah, it's kind of cool. It's pretty cool. That's
I
pretty
dig
cool.
it.
1 minute? Cool. Yeah, we'll do our outro.
Sorry, that sounds really cool. Dylan's like, just turn them all on.
Yeah.
Except the
Yeah.
Yeah. Now it's just a bunch of noise. Alright, I'm getting out of here.
Yeah, let's with just the one for
Alright. What's that?
It's 5.
Alright, we gotta go.
Hey,
We got to go!
I was on the verge of something.
All right. Hey, well, thanks everybody for hanging out with us and checking out these pedals and having a little conversation earlier today. Check out the guys. They do a modulation kind of, what do you guys call it? Space Jam type thing
Yeah.
for Maris Monday. They do a live
We
event.
phase in between Looney Tunes and the real
Yeah,
world.
there's all they're getting all deep into weird modulation, space ambient stuff on Monday night. So check out the boys. Yeah, we'll catch you guys on the flip side.
Yeah. Yeah, there you go. Keep going. It's just getting saucy.
What's that?
Sounds like the Enzo X.
Yeah.
Honestly, that is a pretty cool sound.